Police in New York saying the suspect in a series of brutal crimes is a gang member and illegal immigrant who's been deported 4 times. Tommy Alvarado-Ventura is accused of stabbing 2 women and sexually assaulting a 2-year-old girl. Laura Engel is outside police headquarters with more on this. All right, Laura, shocking story.
It really is, Shannon. In fact, here at the Nassau County Police Headquarters, the police commissioner here has said it is the most heinous criminal act he has ever seen in his 28 years on the force. The suspect you described is a reported member of the notorious and violent Salvadorian gang MS-13, in addition to being here in the United States illegally. We'll take another look at him with his mugshot. 31-year-old Tommy Alvarado-Ventura was known to police for a series of crimes over the years, and investigators say he should have never been back in this country.
He was deported in 5 years, 4 times, and since 2011 he's wandered the streets of Nassau County, free, and that is deeply disturbing. You have a little baby who, just talking about this makes me nauseous, a little baby who will never ever recover from the injuries she's recovered at the hands of this monster.
While the details of all his past deportations are not known, police have said at least one of them was related to criminal convictions, including assault, DWI, drug possession, disorderly conduct, and false impersonation. Now, this is the first known report of sexual assault by Alvarado-Ventura, who investigators say assaulted the 2-year-old daughter of his girlfriend at her Nassau County apartment during his violent crime spree. He also got into an argument with a 24-year-old woman over a drug deal the same night at a local bar, stabbing her multiple times, and later, when confronted by his girlfriend once back at home over her daughter's injuries, he stabbed her multiple times. Now, the little girl and 2 women are in the hospital. They are still recovering from their very severe injuries. Alvarado-Ventura has pled not guilty in his initial appearance. He'll be back in court on Monday, and we have reached out to federal immigration authorities for comment on this case. We're still waiting to hear a reply back. Shannon.
All right, we'll check back with you when you get it, Laura. Thank you very much.
Tragic story that we've been following, that 14-year-old little girl that was allegedly raped in the bathroom of her high school. It's Rockville High School, which is in Maryland. And the 2 illegal immigrants that allegedly raped her, they were caught on the border. They were allowed to stay in the country. Many people are wondering why this never would have happened if they
enforced the laws on the books.
If the laws were enforced, right.
And if you're watching other networks, you haven't seen much coverage of this story. But if you watch Fox here on Fox and Friends, and last night on Tucker Carlson's show, he had on one of the attorneys representing one of those illegal suspects and really grilled him the way only Tucker could. So here's a montage of that interview last night.
So be honest, would you be comfortable having your 14-year-old girl in class with this guy?
I want nothing but safety for my children, their friends, my family, and everyone in my community.
Right. Well, okay, we all do, but that's not answering the question. This specific guy, your client, would you feel comfortable having a loved one go to school with him?
I don't know him. I literally don't know him.
But, I mean, I think that's something you would think through, since you're going to be arguing in public on behalf of this guy, and so doesn't his character, his capacity or not to do something like this, does that enter into it? Do you think, is this guy guilty or not? Is that a consideration for you?
Everything's a consideration. I'm sure there could be a number of questions asked about all 3 of the people involved in this.
What would the questions be raised about the 14-year-old girl who says that she was raped in the high school bathroom and apparently whose screams were heard by her classmates? Man, you better be right about this, because if you're going to be impugning the character of a 14-year-old girl who says she was raped, other people say they heard her screams. I mean, to impugn her character, I mean, you really, before God, better be sure that you're on the right side of this.
Well, I wonder if he slept well last night. I know Tucker Carlson did, though. Some great questions. Tucker is here with us this morning. Good morning, Tucker.
Good morning, Tucker.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
How do you think he handled that last night?
I mean, he's in a tough spot, but I always wonder that about defense lawyers. And by the way, I'm in favor of defense lawyers. I would want one if accused. Not everyone accused is guilty, but I still think there is a human and moral element to this. If you're going to represent somebody, I think it's fair to ask the person representing him, do you feel good about it? And by the way, he said last night that he planned to attack the accuser. Well, okay, that's a common tactic, but she is 14, and there's a lot of circumstantial evidence that she's not making it up. These cases can be complicated. This seems a little less complicated than most. And so I just couldn't resist asking him, Really? You're going to attack a 14-year-old girl who says she was raped midday in a bathroom?
I think that was an excellent. I'm so glad you did that. I was watching last night. I'm like, go, Tucker, go. That's great, as a mother of a little girl. But also, some of the attorneys, another attorney I saw earlier last night, was saying that the little girl, it was consensual. And I'm thinking, consensual? She's 14 years old. It's still illegal.
Well, it's a hard argument to buy. I mean, let's be honest, it's disgusting, actually.
Right.
I mean, there are a lot of circumstances you could bring up that may be mitigating. I don't know, but to lay it on her really seems a bit much. And by the way, they're also making the case that both kids' immigration status had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But of course, I mean, it had everything to do with it.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't be talking about this if these people had been deported as the law demands in the first place, and they weren't for political reasons, as you know, because we don't enforce the law, because there's a lot of political pressure not to enforce it because of ethnic politics. And that doesn't serve Americans at all.
No, but your interview last night did, so well done on that. We've got to get your take on another story we're covering this morning. A potential smoking gun. Intelligence reports revealed today from the NSA could prove that the Obama administration spied on the Trump transition team during that time period, November, December, January. Obviously, the president made the wiretapping allegations. Devin Nunes now comes out and says he may have evidence. What do you make of this developing story?
Well, I mean, there's no question they were spied upon because they were the subject, some of them, apparently, of an investigation. And investigations imply surveillance. So, yeah, it happened. The question is why and how is that information treated? And it seems at this stage, judging by the remarks of the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, that their names were not redacted. They were, as they put it, unmasked in documents that were spread throughout the Intelligence Committee, which, by the way, is huge. And that's against protocol. That is, right there, a big deal. The U.S. government has the capacity to spy on its own citizens. It does. There's almost no backstop against it. It does not require a FISA warrant. That is not true. And this is much more common than we understand. If it's misused, if it looks like this stuff is political, if one administration is using its surveillance powers for political ends, you know, there's almost nothing worse than that. And so we should stop the partisanship. It's not about Trump's tweets, you know, or Russia. I mean, maybe those are real questions. But this question, is the U.S. government misusing its power to hurt its own citizens? Boy, I mean, we all have a stake in finding out the answer.
Yeah, but how troubled are you by this? We had, you know, Congressman Dennis Kucinich on the show like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and he says he was surveilled. And when he was asked to see the substance of that and why was he wouldn't get answers about that. A member of Congress,
well, exactly,
with no warrant.
Well, that's exactly right. And by the way, I would say members of Congress in both parties have been defending this nonsense for years because they say, you know, it's too important, don't ask questions. Really? Somebody needs to provide oversight. The Oversight Committee in the House, which is supposed to be watching over all this, has asked the FBI, apparently, for these documents, relevant documents, and the FBI has ignored them. What's the excuse for that? You know, agencies don't get to ignore Congress. They're supposed to obey Congress. So I would love to hear the explanation for that. And I would love to see members of Congress get mad about it, not on partisan grounds, but as protectors of ordinary Americans.
Because their job is oversight, yes.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Well, maybe they will. We'll see. Tucker, can you stick around?
Oh, man, I never want to leave. Ainsley, wherever you are, I want to be. So I'll be right here.
That's not true. You used to be here in New York and you moved to Washington.